Welcome to New Realities and a Portal to Ascension broadcast. Interviewing today is Lori Spagna, and she will be one of the keynote speakers at the upcoming Portal to Ascension conference. That's October 4th to 6th, 2019 at the Atrium Hotel in Irvine, California. For tickets, go to ascensionconference.com. This is a really fantastic lineup of people besides Lori, Whitley Strieber, Jason Quitt, Desiree and JJ Hertog, Michael Tellinger, Billy Carson, Travis Walton, Kimberly Meredith. These are all really superstars in our league, including today's guest, Lori Spagna. Hey, Lori.
Hello, Alan. How you doing?
Glad we're finally doing this after many years of talking about doing an interview. So
me too. The universe synchronized.
yes.
Yeah.
And this is such an important time. Well, for people like you to come forward because it's such an intense time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything seems to be reconfiguring, collapsing, being the government and people's lives and what's going on here?
Well, we're reaching culmination. I mean, we've reached culmination already, but now people are starting to become more conscious of it. So what's going on is what was prophesized is what's going on. It's time for a whole new reality. Literally, it's new reality. It's true.
But why now? What's causing this and where are we going?
Well, what's causing it is consciousness. Consciousness has been in an eternity of expansion. And the old cycle that's completed, which completed in 2012, that cycle of consciousness was based in expansion through unconsciousness, through separation, through duality, through the experience of unconsciousness. And that paradigm, that what I call third dimensional paradigm of separation, it's over. So now we're just being birthed into a new paradigm of a whole new reality, which we call the fifth dimensional reality. And that reality is based on expansion of consciousness, through unity,
yeah. No, go ahead. Finish that. Sorry. Through
reawakening, a resurrection of our own resurrection, the rebirthing of humanity by becoming conscious, by awakening, by the process of ascension.
I mean, I believe that, but there's a lot of people on the street who are still very angry and, I mean, how could that be true? And I think part of it is true, but there's a whole world out there that's still functioning out of the old paradigm.
Yeah. Well, that whole world out there is functioning from that paradigm because they haven't caught the wave yet. So what I always say is and you think of an ocean, like where does an ocean wave begin or end? But generally speaking, this process is happening in what I say is basically three waves. So you have your first wavers who started to wake up in the 60s, right? And you saw that happening in Woodstock and the birth of John Lennon, the Beatles, Martin Luther King. This is like the first wave started waking up. And it's the first wave continued basically through 2011. By 2011, the end of 2011, all the first wavers were awake. We were out of the believing, we were already into the knowing. That's the first wavers. Then second wavers started to wake up 2012 through now, the end of 2019. That's second wavers waking up and coming online, and they're attending conferences like Portal to Ascension, for example. Right. And they're, doing webinars, they're listening in, they're learning from first wavers. And their role, right? The waves are categorized basically by our roles. So the first wavers, our job is to work with the non-physical realm, the unseen, the unknown, and take what has been unknown and bring it into the known world. Right. Then your second wavers are basically working with first wavers and being like, okay, it's not woo-woo, but how do I deal with this third wave? The third wave is completely unconscious. They have no idea this is going on. They're just like, what? My government's not going to subsidize my healthcare? Like, that's what's going on for them. So they have no idea. They still call this stuff woo-woo. Right. But the second wavers are now really, this last Lionsgate portal, 8/8, right? This last eclipse season really shoved the second waivers into full force to realize like, whoa, this is real. This
But
is
how
real.
could we be ascending and still have the unconscious third waiver? I mean, how we
Because
can't.
the third waivers are set to wake up in 2020 through 2021. That's the 2020 to 2021 corridor. And they're not necessarily going to be into woo-woo. They're just going to transform the way they do things. They're just going to transform their experience of being only physical and completely unconscious. Does that make sense?
By 2020, 2025, the whole world will be conscious. Is that what you're
I
saying?
didn't say that. I said the 2020, 2021 corridor is going to really start to wake them up in a whole new way where they start doing things differently, perceiving things differently, accepting that which has been woo-woo as part of their reality. So it's no longer going to be like, oh, that's just crazy woo-woo stuff. It's going to be like, okay, how can I use that to start helping myself and my world? So the shift of those third waivers, it's not even slated until 2020 to 2021. Because why? Because all that conspiracy stuff that's happened really did slow us down. It did.
We won't really be in an ascended world because we'll be sharing the world with these other, but our own individual states will be different, right? Is that how you see it?
Well, yes, but understand this. There's one true organic ascension timeline. That is the true reality. Okay, for every human being and animal, plant, mineral, to have the conscious choice to choose to wake up into this new paradigm. And that is a true reality. That is a true, original, organic, undiluted ascension timeline. However, those who are existing on it right now, they still get to exist on it in that reality, coexist with us. It's up to them to choose to wake up. And if they don't choose to wake up in a conscious way, what's happening is they're basically being kind of lovingly forced, coerced to perceive things in a new way. And this is going to continue to amplify for them in the coming years. So if they don't choose that, they may finish off their lifetime as they might have. Without ascension, they get to finish off their lifetime in the choice of unconsciousness. But think about that. At this point of time, everyone who's being birthed is being birthed into a new paradigm with more DNA activated, with more of their consciousness activated, with more opportunity because so many more beings are waking up. So in terms of linear time, they're being birthed into an ascension timeline, a true organic ascension timeline where these old realities are dropping off. They're just not vibrationally compatible. And those people who choose not to awaken are just finishing off their life. Then they go into the non-physical world and they get to ascend in a different way.
So yeah, no, thank you. But let's talk about the ascended timeline. Like, okay, those first and second waiver. What do you call ascension? What does that mean to you?
To me, ascension is the process of becoming conscious and embodying. We're first embodiers. So we're embodying these higher frequencies. So it's all frequency based. It's all vibrational based. So this old paradigm of 3D is based in a vibrational frequency range of fear, domination, coercion, manipulation, lies, deceit, I, me, mine, all that unconsciousness, hierarchy, patriarchy, regiment, follow the leader, boxed in, limitation and lack. That's that old paradigm. And the frequency base of that is based in fear and unconsciousness. Fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, concern, frustration. It's a death and dying culture. It's a disease-based culture. It's a war-based culture. That's that old paradigm. And people are breaking free from it now, which is an ascension process. The new paradigm is based on love and joy, happiness, unity, oneness, kindness, compassion, joy, love, peace-based frequencies. It's based in freedom.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, there's people who are ascending more conscious, but in their bodies, they're still holding some of the traumas.
Yeah, that's the big thing. You can't spiritually bypass. That's the biggest challenge because you can learn it here, but you have to embody it here. So all that trauma you're talking about, Alan, you're absolutely right. All that fear, all that anxiety, all those things built up from lifetimes of living in this old paradigm, like lifetimes upon lifetimes. That's what has to be cleared out. That's a huge part of what I do. I'm interested in working with the DNA. So understand, this is what we'll be talking about at the Ascension Portal to Ascension conference. The first two strands of DNA are holding up the records of the ancestors. They're storing up all that trauma, the dis-ease, all the areas where we were unconscious. And those two strands have to be cleared out. All those records, they have to be cleared, healed, and resolved, transmuted. So for example,
how are they cleared though? I mean, people listening.
you gotta come to Portal to Ascension. You gotta work with the people who are doing it. I'm one of them. But there's all the speakers at Portal to Ascension are examples of people who are doing this in each of our unique ways.
How do you do it?
For me, a huge part is, number one, I work with the DNA. So let's say there's a record in the DNA of diabetes. That's just an example. Okay, the record of diabetes is basically the ancestors didn't know how to enjoy the sweetness of life. They just didn't know how. In fact, they didn't know how to regulate. They took on all kinds of beliefs like, I don't know how to have sweetness in life. I don't know how to enjoy life. I don't know what joy is. Maybe they grew up during the Great Depression. And so they took on a record, they anchored a record of energy and consciousness into their own DNA. There's no enjoyment in life. There's no pleasure. And then maybe they didn't know how to, maybe they misused and abused sugar. And they took on sugar and they can't control sugar.
How do you shift that? How would you?
I have to go into the DNA. I work with creator consciousness outside of the limitations of the brain, outside of the limitations of the third dimensional paradigm. I have to go to source, the original source of creation. Then I might work with their Akashic records, their ancestors, their contracts, their oaths. What did they choose? What does their soul want to work with? What does their soul want to resolve? What are they here to claim? What gifts do they need to claim? So we clear all that out, right? We resolve it all. We heal it and clear it from the DNA. Then simultaneously, we have to activate stuff in the other 10 strands of dormant DNA, because we know scientifically there's 10 more strands of dormant DNA. And those 10 strands are carrying your gifts for the ascension. The gifts sometimes they're codes. There are a lot of times they're codes, your star family races left you codes, your descendants who left you codes for you, how to be in your brilliance, how to be in your magnificence, what your original divine mission is, how to live without any form of disease, clearing aging programs, aging implants, clearing, like there's all kinds of stuff like that. Awakening your true divine potential, that's waiting in the dormant DNA. Living without disease, for sure. Living in peace and joy. Living every life with glad expectation and optimism and excitement. There's operating templates, how to operate in this new paradigm. So how do you operate outside of time? The old paradigm is limited to time. Everybody thinks in the old paradigm, everybody has the same 24 hours. That's ridiculous thinking, because 24 hours is not a constant, as we now know. So you clear new operating systems, that's all in the DNA waiting to be activated. Has to be activated.
But do you do this for people, or can people do this for themselves?
Well, people can learn to do it for themselves, but it's not like you just, I've been doing this for 15 years now. So, and the way I learned actually was because I had an induction experience. So my star family literally teletransported me onto a ship and started to activate stuff in me that I didn't know how to do. I would have never known this stuff. But now I share it with others.
You were actually
part of my role.
You were physically brought on a ship?
Yes, but not in a physical carbon-based body, in a plasma-based body. It was plasma, which to me translates as a 7th, 8th dimensional frequency.
Was this a shock for you, or were you already doing spiritual work?
I was definitely already doing spiritual work, but I would call it a divine contract. I mean, I had a divine appointment.
It wasn't on your calendar, right? It was just...
No, I mean, I was living in Maui for 2 years, and I would meditate on the back of my porch. And back then I didn't even understand like anything about extraterrestrials or off-planet beings or star family races. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just thought it was all like, oh, they're coming in 2012 and they're going to help us. I didn't know. So I would meditate on the back of my porch and look up at the stars. And I mean, I had worked in the cable industry long enough to know what a satellite is. And when I started seeing little lights moving in circular motions, and I just would ask, like, are you an ET? Like, who are you? And then I would, like, very innocently, sweetly, naively ask, like, well, if I can do anything to be of service, let me know. Anyway, it was foolish in a way, but it was a divine appointment, right? So that's how that started. That's
but let's talk about ETs though, because they play a big part of the future. So how do we start to integrate the ET consciousness?
Well, understand, first of all, it's all frequency based. So that whole ET thing, right? This is a timeline factor. On the original organic timeline, everybody wakes up and everybody comes into unity and everybody starts aligning with the frequencies of peace, love, and joy. Those become the primary operating systems for humanity. However, along this timeline, you get to have what we call secondary experiences to help you resolve your issues. So if a secondary experience is that you're afraid of ETs and you think that there's some really bad ones out there, which is not untrue, not entirely untrue, you might break off on a secondary experience and have some very, we'll call them malevolent experiences with so-called bad guys, right? Or you might be someone going out into Star Wars fighting bad ETs. That's a secondary timeline. Another more understandable example. Let's say in some past parallel lifetime, you died of the plague and you had trauma associated with viruses. Okay, you might have a secondary experience right now where you're entangled with like forced immunizations. You may be living in a state that forces you to immunize your kids, and you have to deal with that and unpack it and unravel it, right? To resolve it for yourself.
How do you deal with those traumas and unpack it and resolve
I
it?
heal and resolve it. I'm a healer. I find it in the genetics. I find it in the unconscious. It's not me. I work with the divine to clear, heal, and resolve it, because that is the name of game on the Ascension timeline. Let's clear, heal, and resolve everything that we experienced prior to the 2012 timeline in the old paradigm. Let's clear, heal, and resolve it. Remove it. Claim all the consciousness and the gifts of that consciousness. Claim the gifts so we can expand consciousness now in a conscious way in the new paradigm, so we can receive those gifts.
But if you wanted to tell people about how to clear it on their own, because there'll be lots of people watching this, is it possible?
It's possible. It's not possible in 10 seconds.
All right.
But it's possible. This is why we tell people to come to these conferences, because it's affordable, it's fun. No one's forcing you. You get to learn about it in a very safe way with people who are experiencing it and doing it firsthand, and you get to experience the results for yourself. And you don't have to invest thousands of dollars. You come to a conference like Portal to Ascension, you learn about it, you experience it, and you're like, oh, this is real. This works.
So what do you see coming up in the future now? I mean, 2020 has a lot of interesting planetary configurations, right? Isn't there something on January 12th, Saturn, Pluto conjunction? I mean, I know you work, what,
Jupiter.
Saturn, Jupiter,
and Pluto are going to all come into conjunction. And by the time May comes around, we're going to have a South Node moving in there. Oh, actually, sorry, the South Node is already there. The South Node's going to be moving in May into Sagittarius. But yeah, so you have those four. You have a South Node. So South Node is all about what you're letting go of, releasing. It's also the good stuff that you're meant to catch in your net. So right. Anyway, not to go into the astrology of it, but what it really is massive change. Massive change. But you understand, based on your consciousness and your frequency, that change is going to serve your evolution. Now, it's up to the human to decide, how am I going to choose to experience this? Because that the fear-based mind will be like, oh my God, what's going to happen? The joy-based mind is like, wow, how is this going to help me, serve me, support me, assist me? How am I going to help others? How am I going to share this with the world? What greatness is going to come through this? What magnificence for all of humanity is going to come to pass? How is this going to assist and serve and support us in ways that are so good, so desirable, so benevolent, so helpful? But the fear-based mind is going to be like, oh, what's going to happen?
We're entering a portal of ascension now, you're saying, January 20.
Well, we've been going through portal after portal after portal.
Really?
These portals come up. And this is why it's so important to understand different portals and timelines. So for example, August 8th, I mentioned that. That was a massive portal, the Lion's Gate. Every year, that's a huge, massive portal where we connect with the Sirian star family races, those beings from Sirius. And then at the same time, other beings from other dimensions come in because it's like a divine appointment. It's kind of like me saying to you, Alan, hey, Alan, let's go meet up on the Starbucks at the corner of 8th and 12th at 8 o'clock on August 8th. And we'll meet there. You wear the red tie, I'll wear the red dress, and we'll hang out. Okay. And let's just some energy, right? That's what these portals are. So we know them based on, we can look at them in astrology and we can find them. We can look at them in numerology. So one of the next really big, always doubles and triple numbers in numbers. So August 8th, October 10th, November 11th, December 12th, December 21st. These are portal dates. We have them all the time, but there's very big ones when the astrology and the numerology sync up. So you have that coming in January, right? You have another biggie, April. Why? 4 is the month of April. 2020 is a number 4. Even February will be big. February, the month of 2. 2020 is 222. You're going to have like massive portals and gateways. What does that mean? That basically means the higher realms, other dimensions of reality, and other star family races are doing what they can from other dimensions to assist humanity by expanding these higher frequency energies and vibrations into this physical world and reality that we live in to assist humanity in up-leveling. And every time we up-level, any of us who are earth-based, we not only anchor those frequencies into our body, our being, our consciousness, but we're also assisting all of humanity in the awakening process.
Beautiful. So what's the next one coming up? 1010?
Yeah, but that's a smaller one, but it is still nonetheless significant. All the doubles are significant.
But how do we prepare?
Really significant.
Do we do certain prayers? I mean, how do we work with the portals?
Okay, so one of the best things you can do on portals is meditation and prayer and intention. And intention, there's only really one key rule that always has to be kind of followed now. The rule, not a law, is highest and most benevolent best of all, harm to none. Simple. So your highest and most benevolent best intention for all concerned. So if you're wanting something that is not the highest and most benevolent best, it can still come to pass if it's your highest and best, but it can never cause harm to anyone. There's no harm allowed anymore in the true organic timeline. If you're dealing with something that's harmful, it's an offshoot. That we call that a secondary timeline. If it harms sun, you generally speaking, you don't want to be on that, but you're going to have to work through it, right? Okay. So intention, prayer, meditation, and getting in healing circles, any community, whether it's on a webinar, a group, a retreat, a workshop, a Ascension portal, anything like that where you can get in with groups, because the group collective amplifies. And from the higher realms, when there's like a lot of people gathered, like I'm a channel. I love channeling. I do channeling. I know that if I have a group of 100 people on a webinar, for example, and because I work with the universal laws, so laws exist on a 6th dimensional plane of existence. Now, if I have 100 people or 200 people on a call, and everybody in the call is agreeing to something that we all want and choose for the new earth, let's just say freedom, sovereignty, let's just say healthy non-GMO foods. Let's say organic farming. Let's say compassion and kindness towards all animals, including the human animal. Let's just say anything like that, that we all agree. We have 100 people and everyone agrees to this in ways that are for the highest and most benevolent best of all. Now the laws say everyone agrees. If I can connect that to all the oversoul families, which I can, and every law of the universe is like everyone agrees and there's harm to none. Everyone's agreeing. Boom. Law of synchronicity, law of cause and effect. Every law of intent, consent, and authority, which is free will. Make it so. Boom. It happens. Now, the humans on Earth may still be on a secondary timeline going through some issues that they haven't resolved, but nonetheless, it is grounded. It is done. So now we're changing the whole of humanity here because enough people are agreeing in a conscious way. So when you ask me, what can we do on a portal? I'm saying, get in your intention, get with other people who know how to do this so you can learn from them. I'm saying you, but I mean anyone. Join webinars where people are doing this. Get involved with the people who are in the know. Come to events like Portal to Ascension. That's what we do.
So, but if my intent, I mean, I could
Your
do.
intention is, this is the most simple anyone can do. What is my highest and most benevolent best? If you're asking for yourself.
I'm asking for myself, but I'm also not just for myself, though.
Right. Then ask the question of the universe. What is for my highest and most benevolent best?
But can you also ask for specifics in your intention? Like, I want this, this, and this?
Yeah, you can. You can always ask for specifics, but understand if you're asking for specifics, there has to be some higher purpose that it's serving, because the purpose of our new reality is to expand consciousness in a conscious way. So let's say you're asking for a red car. Okay, you want a sports car, whatever. Okay, that's an easy one too, right? Okay, you can have your sports car, but for what purpose now? Is it going to expand your joy? Okay, that's easy. Are you going to manifest it and materialize it in a way that's going to serve others to learn how to do it too? Okay, now you're talking. Is your attaining that red sports car going to somehow serve the expansion of consciousness by creating more joy in the world, by creating more
If I get joy for it, then there is more joy in the world. I mean, can't I just create it for myself? And,
yes,
and joy that way?
Yes, but you have to understand this new reality is based on the expansion of consciousness and service to the greater good of all with harm to none. So with that, everything you want to materialize, everything you want to create has to somehow be serving that end.
I see. So whatever
self-serving anymore. Self-service is old paradigm. Doesn't work anymore.
So whatever my intention is, it could be for me, but it has to be for something bigger as well.
In some way, shape, or form, it has to serve the greater good. And you also have to understand that if there's somehow contracts in there, lessons, challenges to overcome, or unresolved for you. So let's use the same example as the red sports car. Let's say the person in there has issues of unworthiness that they have not resolved in this lifetime. Or let's say the person who wants the red sports car has issues where they've been out of integrity, where maybe they've stolen, or they've been using and abusing others for their own personal end, their own personal gain at the expense of others. That red sports car may come to them, but the very next day or next week, it could be taken away. Mm-hmm. Why? Because there's an expansion of consciousness that wants to come through for that person to teach them to be in integrity, or to care for the greater good, not just about personal gain at the expense of others. So you see, this is what I mean. We're playing with a whole new deck of cards here. And
lessons, this person may say something to upset you. And I mean, we still have to deal with the emotional body.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say you want a red sports car and you think that the way you're going to get that red sports car, for example, is to just screw you and the horse you rode in on, person, I'm going to go get it over there. And somehow you've caused upset. That ripple effect, because of the universal laws, is going to ripple effect back to you. That's a boomerang effect.
And that's more immediate, right? Now, this is much more, it's the karma, instant karma. is going to get
Yeah,
you.
although I wouldn't even call that karma. I would call that law of cause and effect.
Well,
Universal law. Because karma is unresolved business from your past. That's karma.
well, it's also,
Unresolved. But ripple effect of cause and effect. If I, Alan, right now spend 5 minutes loving you, in 5 minutes after that, or in some nonlinear time, you will feel it. And it will radiate from you back to me because you will feel that love.
so that's another way to work with that, because karma is about, I guess, negative action in a way, and cause and effect is what you put out, you get back, right?
Well, karma's not negative. Karma is unresolved business.
But it consequences of actions too.
It definitely is that, yes. But so cause and effect is if I steal from you, you will be, if you're not meant to be stolen from, the divine source will just immediately give you that money back in some other way. But if I did the stealing, I will be stolen from. I don't even like to say that, but that's just cause and effect.
Right.
So if you steal from someone, you will be stolen from, amplified and accelerated in greater ways. That is just law of cause and effect. That's the way it works. If you steal, you will be stolen from.
Because that's in the field.
But that's not karma. That's just cause and effect.
Well,
but if you haven't learned and resolved your issues with integrity around money, that's karma.
And how do you resolve your issues with integrity around money? Not that anyone's done. If you're not stealing is one thing, but there's people who
integrity around money. It's a big issue. It's a big issue, right? So how do you resolve that? It's not a 5-minute answer, but I do know the answers, but it's generally speaking like you have to get in integrity. You have to align yourself with the energy and frequency of integrity. You have to behave accordingly. You have to start to realize the higher truth about the exchange of energy. So our old paradigm, by the way, was based on exchange of energy. So if you say we lived in a reptilian dominated system, for example, in our old paradigm, that basic paradigm was these reptilians created order and systems for us. And at the same time, through their service of creating order and systems, and patriarchal systems and structures, the return that they got from us was our life force, our energy.
And so what's happening now then in this new paradigm?
The new paradigm is not going to be about the exchange of energy, but that still is operating here because we have not resolved that issue. We have not resolved exchange of energy, but the new paradigm will be about expansion of consciousness by the sharing of perspectives. That's going to be the new currency, but we're not there yet. That's like 2035 is what I'm doing.
That's what I'm doing with new realities, but
exactly.
Give me an example of what you mean by the currency of perspectives. How do you see that?
Okay, a great example is one of my dear friends who just joined me on my sacred crystal retreat. I would say something and she would go, yeah, and what about this? And I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes so much more sense. We're expanding our consciousness because she's sharing a perspective that expands on a perspective that I already have, and I'm sharing a perspective that expands on what she already knows. We're doing that right now. This is the future. The future is just expansion of what we have to share. So even if you look at it in materialism, if I am a person who makes pens for a living and you are a person who makes headsets for a living, and I'm like, oh, I love your pen, or you're like, you love my pen, and I'm like, I love your headset. You're like, hey, I make headsets. I love this. You love that. Let's just share it. Right? It's not even trade because everybody's needs are met. Everybody's doing what they love doing. In fact, Michael Tellinger, who will be at Portal to Ascension, shares about this from Ubuntu, the Ubuntu movement. Everybody just does what they love. Okay,
but also put that in
that's not tomorrow. That's not 2021, but it is our future.
But in terms of perception and perspective and awareness, sharing that is the new currency.
Yes.
Because we're here to expand awareness, expand
possibility. It's a new currency because in reality, the higher truth of this timeline, this true organic timeline, is that source is your provider. So your provider is no longer your 401k. or your job or your boss or your IRA, or, or
Will
your
that be
whatever.
everyone's reality? Will that be everyone's reality at
Everyone
certain,
who chooses to become conscious about that.
and
Yes.
they,
So your true source is your provider. So through your connection. So let's say you want to go on a retreat that costs $3,000, or you want to buy a ticket to Portal to Ascension or something, and you think you don't have the money. Well, but your source is infinite provision. So that's when you say source, divine source, creator God, bring forward the fair energy exchange so that I can fairly compensate this person or experience of $3,000 or more, whatever. Let it come in a joyful, wonderful, great way with harm to none. Here's some of the service I'm willing to provide and share in order for that to receive. But I'm infinitely aware that you have infinite ways of sending it. And as long as there's harm to none, let it be. Bring it into my reality so I can exchange this fair energy exchange.
is there
So when
any,
you do something like that, that's new paradigm.
will there be a conflict between those working in the new paradigm and those working in the old paradigm, since we're still sharing our basic general reality? It seems
Not
like
when those working in the new paradigm have done our inner work. Only when we're still in conflict. And then if we are, that's an offshoot timeline. If I was thinking about this morning, I was remembering a time when I lived in Los Angeles, and this guy with a badge, like some parks guy, comes up to my door and says, "You have 2 dogs, and do you have licenses for your dogs? And I'm here to collect the fees for the licenses." And, I just willingly obliged because, he had all the credentials. He was a real guy, working for the government to collect money for the government for licenses for your dogs. The reason I decided to do it was because I was making a conscious choice that I didn't want to be fighting with the government. I didn't want to be arguing about the wrongness of someone coming to my door on my private property, soliciting me for money, representing as the government, like, who didn't even show me the law that he has the right to do that, right? There's not even a law that he has the right to do that. In fact, he didn't have the right. But I had made a conscious choice at that time. I'm not going to oppose this old system. I'm not going to fight. I'm not here for that. I'll be in harmony with this system. And I'm willing to work with the old system to bring in the changes that I know the new system has for us. And that was a conscious choice I made. Now, someone else might have chosen that very unconsciously, or maybe in another way, they might have called out the wrongness of it, because it wasn't, he didn't even have a legal right to do that. He just operating as a representative from a false authority who says they have the right to come and claim money from me, say that there's a license required, when really there was nothing that actually required that, nor do they have the right to do that. But if I wanted to be in opposition and fighting, I could have got into the wrongness. If it wasn't in my integrity with money, knowing that the divine source can provide me infinitely more than I could ever give out.
so. You made a choice to choose the reality you wanted to live in. You could have argued with the guy. You could have said, "Get lost. I don't need a license for my dog,
Right,
in my backyard," or something like that.
right.
But it's
But
still
this is a choice, because if I had made that choice, I could have then gotten entangled in all kinds of other, who knows, problematic issues. I've just made a choice that I'm at peace with that old system. And I've demonstrated it through multiple kinds of behaviors in my life and actions. I just choose to be at peace with that old system. So I'm just responding to your question. Some people might not make that choice.
right. Like I
In
bumped
order
into this guy on the
to be vibrationally compatible with peace, we have to make choices that say, I'm at peace with that.
I was
The wrongness of it.
I bumped into this guy on the street, and he wanted to start a fight about that. It was just like and I just smiled at him, and it's just, but there was like this threat or something coming up, and it's like, still people in the world who are operating on one level, and we could send love, but there's still wars going on. We're still living. That's part of our reality, no matter how ascended we are. There's still traumas. So it's like, how do we, we can intend to help them, but has to be some bigger answer here for all this situation?
Well, there is a bigger answer. The bigger answer is to become conscious of the new reality that we live in, which is a vibrational based reality, to completely and totally shift our vibration, live our life from to the degree possible, the 0 point within us, which is a neutral place. As we maintain and embody that neutrality, we are able to make greater changes for the greater good of all, rather than be trapped in and entangled in the problem where we can't make any change. We cannot make change if we're at war. We can make change when we're at peace. We can make incredible, profound changes for the greater good of humanity, but we won't know it until we get here. So you understand, I didn't know at the time when I was saying I choose to be at peace with this old system, that would eventually bring me to a point where I could make global change for the greater good, that I had that power within me to affect the whole of humanity energetically. Massive change by working with universal laws and the consciousness of great collectives of 100, 200 people on a call. I didn't understand that at that time. I just knew I wanted peace. I was choosing peace.
Right. But some people say if war is still in your reality, even though we're not there on the battlefield, then there's still something in us that we have to work through. Maybe you answered that in a way because we're still...
Well, even when you were saying there's still war, I was thinking really the wars on planet Earth have really, really diminished. Like, number one, please understand there was an agenda to create World War III. And to the best of my knowledge, that has not happened. And quite frankly, that will never happen because the vibration of Earth and humanity is too high. There is too much peace, and that will never be revoked now. And that is because so many conscious light workers since the 1960s have actively engaged in choosing peace. So we shifted the course of humanity.
Thank you. That feels real and true.
Yeah.
I think we
and
are.
that's going to continue because the old systems are crumbling. Those structures that are war-based are crumbling. They are being exposed. And it may not be happening as fast as we'd like, but this is perspective. Like, are you looking at all the war? Are you plugging into chronic news network, CNN? Are you believing that the lies of that propaganda? I'm not saying you.
No, but
are you looking to the new paradigm and plugging into that and recognizing and embodying these higher truths? This does have to happen. This is not just spiritual bypassing just with your mind. This has to be changing it on a cellular level. This has to be changing the DNA. This has to be constant prayer, meditation, downloads, activations, clearings, healing, resolving all of it on a cellular level, to a quantum level, quantum, non-physical level, that we change this energetically on all levels, all layers of our body and being, on all lifetimes, past, present, future, parallel.
The difference between watching CNN with all the dramas and compulsively, or shutting it off. It's still going on, whatever it is, but you're working on yourself to raise your vibration, because by raising our vibration and disconnecting from the news and the drama, we can actually affect that change as well in some way, I think.
Yes, exactly. Understand too that all that CNN stuff, all that television, it's brainwashing. It's mind fuck TV.
It's so addictive because there's so much drama. I'm a little fascinated by it just recently. It's like, wow, this is high theater. It's entertaining, but it also affects people's lives. So we get sucked in there because we think it maybe affects our lives, but in a sense,
you have to understand what's going on with that from a vibrational perspective.
Yes, tell me.
You have almost all of it is based on 2 tracks. So the 2 tracks are, the A track is, let's put them in a nice alpha brainwave. And that's when you see commercials like butterflies and nice music playing and dads playing football with their sons and people playing soccer and taking Claritin Clear and living in harmony. You know, the A track is Leave It to Beaver.
Right.
Everything's peaches and roses. And the B track is a deep beta. So the A track is alpha. Everything's yes and lovely. Roses and buttercups. And the B track is deep beta. So beta is may cause death, may cause suicide, may cause suicide. No. Call your doctor. So the A track is yes. The B track is everything sucks. And then what it does to your body and your mind is it schisms. It creates an imbalance. So you get into a schism. This is brainwashing at its most effective. It is so effective.
It is. They give you those. You're right. I'm just thinking about the commercials. It's beautiful. It's lovely. And then they give you this, if you have this disease or this, it's this.
And they brainwash you to tell you what to do. Call your doctor. Call your doctor. So then meanwhile, the front is at the doctor front too, because they're giving the doctor studies, but fake studies.
But they
rigged studies.
Up and then they send the dagger into your consciousness because you're open.
They open you up. That's right.
With the
it's really brainwashing.
It's awful. It's awful. It's awful.
But we have a free will, and the free will is to unplug.
Okay, but if I unplug, I might miss something. But so what? So what?
Well, what are you missing, really? That's just the whole.
Exactly. What are we really missing? We're just missing.
I mean, this is one thing I really know. I see this all the time because I love going to the expos, and I love all the community and all the friendship, and love seeing so many friends that I see.
Right.
But the one thing I know is like this idea that something is out there that you're missing is just insane. There's nothing out there. Everything we're looking for is within us.
I think I have a lifelong addiction to out there. And,
yeah. Well, you're a very social character. You're highly social.
I love people. But you know what? It's just as fascinating in here without being self-indulgent as it is out there. You know? So
yes.
It's a balance. We can't.
I mean, that's exactly right. I love all the expos and my social friends and stuff. And I love the community, and I love hanging out with everybody and seeing everybody. And they're all my friends. It feels like family at these expos. And it wouldn't be complete if I wasn't spending all the time inwardly as well. And connecting with my source, on a daily basis through meditation and through my own practices, whether it's healing practices that I do for myself or with others, or whatever I'm doing inwardly to keep that connection inside and to fulfill myself from within and to fill myself up with all those beautiful energies of peace and love and joy and optimism and excitement and whatever energies that I'm filling myself up with, whatever clearing techniques I'm doing, whatever activations I'm doing, that's my inner work that makes me so full inside of myself that then when I come to like Portal to Ascension and I see all my love people I love so much, that just enriches the whole experience. So it's inward and outward. It's all of it together. That's really what's so important. But
this is
really anything, on CNN.
I know, we're not really. It's just it's another programming. It's another brainwashing to think that it's all out there, and that it makes a difference and it's going to change our lives. And yeah, it's such a cultural conditioning. But thank you, Lori. You made some really good points there about evolution and moving to the next level of our awakening, because this is where we're going now in this new time. So thank you. Any final words you want to add about the next level of awakening that we're moving into?
Well, mostly I just want to remind people to come to Portal to Ascension. I want to tell people that I'm on a panel on Friday night with my dear friend, Deborah Giusti, who's hosting the panel, and so many amazing speakers. We have JJ Hertog, Billy Carson, me, and I can't remember. I'm so sorry who else is on that panel that night. That's a Friday night panel at Portal to Ascension in Orange County. And then let me see if I can find it because I have it in front of me.
I'm going to be hosting the UFO panel. Where's that?
Rob Potter is also on our Friday night panel. When's your panel?
I'm not sure when the UFO panel is, but JJ Hurtak and Desiree Hurtak, Travis Walton, who's probably the most famous contactee in the world, Whitley Strieber, who wrote Communion. These are
Awesome.
this is
Great panels.
that there is going to be great panels.
I love JJ Hurtak. I want to tell you, I mean, I have Enoch come to me and he talks about the null zone and how Enoch teaches. This is a lot of stuff from the Keys of Enoch. Enoch teaches us about how we're in a null zone, really. It's this period of time. Well, it's like this period of time where you're navigating your old reality and your new reality, right? And that sort of zone of like, am I in the old world? Am I in the new world? And anyway.
I have to say, JJ Hurtak is a good friend of mine. He's the real thing. He really had, for people who don't know him, a real ascension event happened to him.
Yeah.
Where he was gone for 3 days to these higher levels, and he brought back a spiritual teaching that he embodies. I mean, he's not talking about it. He walks around in a higher state of consciousness, and he's one of the great teachers on the planet now. So I'm glad you like him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love the Keys of Enoch, and I work with that book, and I have channeled and worked directly with Enoch, and I love what he shares. So
let's set up a conversation with you and him there, okay?
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying. When I get on with a group of people, I will channel things. So I also have an event that I'm doing at the Portal to Ascension, which is Saturday at 2 p.m. I believe that's the right time. I hope it is.
I'll look it up.
But it's on the website for Portal to Ascension, my day of speaking. And then I'm doing basically what we're going to be doing. I have a little over an hour. I'm going to work with people in a group. We're going to channel through what's meant to come through for the group, whoever. And I have beings from, like, Enoch is only one of them. I mean, I have ascended masters come through, star family races come through, whoever's meant to come through for the group. So we might have the Syrian High Council. We might have, Radiance.
Let's do
it. And then we'll be doing activations in the DNA and clearings for that group, whoever shows up, of whatever's right for the people who are there.
Well, let's do an interview where you could bring some of those channel beings in, okay?
Yeah, we can always do that. It's always what's meant for the greater good at that now moment in time and space. And
I just want to say, yeah, what I do like about Portal to Ascension is that it's one speaker at a time. A lot of these shows, there's 4 or 5 different speakers at once, and here it's one at a time. You won't miss anything. You'll see everybody, and it creates a kind of evolutionary bond. It's like we're all in it together. There's no separation. The other shows are great too, but this is a smaller show, and it's more intimate. And I just went to one in Mount Shasta that was really a beautiful bunch of people. So I think this is going to be a great show. And the audience and the speakers come together at these sort of events where we make a real community.
Yeah.
Where there's separation. And that's a model for the ascension waves that are coming through.
Yeah. I mean, the community, we were talking about that earlier. The community is just so much fun. It's so lovely to be able to meet, just to meet people up front. And because it is a smaller show, we have that chance to interact very closely, not only with one another, but with all the participants, all the attendees. So people really enjoy that. And I think it's really cool.
Thank you, Lori, for your teachings today.
Oh, Alan, I'm so grateful and happy to be here. And I love you so much. I'm so excited to see you.
Thank you. Well, what's coming up for you after Portal to Ascension? Where are you at?
After that, well, I'm going to be at the Conscious Life Expo in February, and I'll be at the New Living Expo.
You're not at New Life in New York, though.
Not this October. I opted not to do that this October because I have some stuff happening in the background that's really exciting that I'm not yet free to talk about.
You look great. You look really happy. You really are living your truth there.
I am living my truth.
And it's really different. I mean, not that you weren't, but I can see there's some kind of shift that's just happened to you because you really are.
DNA. I cleared out a lot of old stuff.
You really did. You really
Serious.
look different and you feel different. And you're smiling. This is like a new person I'm seeing here.
I've been doing my inner work for 15 years. It's not, I'm living proof that this stuff is real and
But
works.
it's just now kind of paying off. I mean, it's paid off along, but I see there's like this exponential shift right here into your reality.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
So
for
is it true? Did something just major shift happen to you recently, or is it?
Well, I will say that that eclipse was huge for me. That last eclipse, I have 4 planets. I mean, if you want to get into the astrology, I have 4 planets in the house of Cancer. So that's my 8th house, which is divine inheritance. So inheritance is really who I'm meant to become. So that north node is going over those 4 planets for me in the house of Cancer, which is my 8th house. So I just, this past year, really have stepped into who I'm meant to become. And it's continuing into next year because it will go over, my north node will go over my north node. It's huge. It's really when the human steps into who they've been working toward becoming their whole life. So you're noticing it. Thank
I'm
you.
noticing it. I'm seeing it. It's more than notice. It's like, well,
Yeah,
thank
I will say that the happiness ratio, it's not like I'm always like this, but I definitely have noticed like massive change on a personal level. But I don't know, it's just the benefits of this work is real. It's real, this work. It's not an overnight, it's not a pill, but
right.
it is real. And it does massively change us for the better.
Thank you. How can people reach you? Your website?
Yeah. Head over to LoriSpagna.com. That's my name, LoriSpagna. And there's lots of great gifts. Actually, they can get a gifted DNA activation there. They can get a free DNA activation. They can get a wonderful class and ebook on learning about the indigo family races, the indigo family tribes, star seeds, what is it, light workers, way showers, change agents, like how to know if you're a star seed, what the waves are, like all that stuff is in there. And then there's some great stuff for people and animals too, because animals is a huge part of what I do and how I help and serve, like learning animal communication, telepathy, learning about your psychic gifts, all that stuff. Tons of great free stuff over at LoriSpagna.com. And they can also find me on YouTube if they just search my name, and tons of fabulous videos there that they can get. Lots of openly sourced content, juicy, real, high quality content.
Yes, and your joy and enthusiasm and your radiating of love is coming through. So.
Oh, thank you, Alan. You too. And I'm so psyched to see you. I'm gonna do your numbers.
Okay, good. There's more to go
Yeah.
through. Thanks. Yeah, Lori does great private sessions on all levels. Astrology, neurology. She'll help you chart your future for its optimum.
Actually, now what I do is I mostly work with groups. I don't even do private sessions so much anymore, but I work with a lot of groups on teaching and sharing this stuff and activating their DNA, helping people to activate all their star codes, sacred key codes. And of course, that's what we'll be doing at Portal to Ascension.
Thank you, Lori. I will see you really, really soon.
Yes.
Thanks
All right.
for
Love you so much.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Bye.